All right, we got a problem on our hands.
What happened?
That problem's Roy.
Oh, no.
That's right. I wish him good morning this morning, and he's like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And the reason he's like that is because he doesn't feel like he's getting enough credit for things in general. Already this King Roy thing has gone to his head. He doesn't think he got enough credit for being the one among us who did the best in American Ninja Warrior, that we were too busy celebrating nut shots and Amin being terrible, and not a lot of people, noticed his great triumph of getting through 2 obstacles. And I got to be honest, I still don't think Roy won. I think Billy won just because of how much he looked like Tarzan on that rope. Like, he looked like the most graceful thing I've ever seen. Like, he's been jumping from a platform to a rope his whole life. He could not have done that. He was soaring.
Came naturally.
He couldn't have done that more confidently, as Roy made it to the other side, but did so going back and forth and barely hanging on by a thread on the rope.
Well, there was another development this morning. So this is what happened. Stugotz was on Golic and Wingo.
Bad.
And they asked about the show and who did the best. And he said, I did the best. I went the furthest, which completely threw Roy off. Like, he got really upset with that. And I'm starting to realize, because history will remember, or won't remember actually, Chris won the races. The picture, it was what won the races.
Well, the thing that we won the races because you turn into confidence man when you're doing athletic endeavors in a way that's strange. You saw Mike, like, we are our frailest selves when doing athletic competition. Fat Chris, this is why he's an extraordinary being, because he's the oaf that wins everything without fear, because he's not thinking about anything. You are always going to be plagued by your neuroses, even though you're the best athlete among us.
But I'm not. But people think that, and
no,
I'll take it.
No, but you are. That's not
I
saying
think you
much.
are, Bill.
That's not much of a compliment.
No, he's not. He's not.
Chris is.
Well, Chris hit out.
You're sleeping on me, Dan.
Chris didn't want to go to Ninja Warrior because he didn't want the bad. He was still on a high from the races, and all of a sudden he had to watch his baby.
I'm pretty self-aware with my athleticism. I knew that Ninja Warrior is not my strength. Regular sports, I can do those.
Just running from one place to another without breaks, that you can do.
Chris, didn't you get a hit off Matt Latos one time?
I got a hit off Matt Latos. Wow. I got a solid line drive out against Anthony Swarzak, who played for the Twins.
Nice.
Anthony Swarzak, look him up.
But it's baseball. I mean,
Roy hit a home run out of the former
BP.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean,
It's longer than any of you, I'll tell you that.
it was a home run. He hit a home run out of BP at what was the Marlins Park, whatever the hell they were calling it back then. I think back then it was that underwear park.
Was it Matt Latos pitching to Roy? No, I don't think so.
That would have helped him, actually.
He would have hit more.
You didn't hit a bomb off of Latos, Chris. You hit a single.
It was a rope.
A rope seeing eye single.
Where was your line drive against the Minnesota pitcher?
To the shortstop. I actually hit that one well, too. Didn't even go above head level.
Wow. A stinger?
Right in the screws?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys feel like Roy's not getting enough credit? Because Roy on Golic and Wingo the other day and crushed Family Feud.
He did.
Is the whole thing, Guillermo, put it on the poll, is the King Roy thing going to his head? Because he was PO'd when I came in here today.
Right.
Now,
well, Roy, were you upset at me?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
You claimed that you didn't see the video while it was going on during the show. That's a lie.
Roy, listen, I'm sorry. I don't recall seeing your entire run there. Was it part of the video yesterday?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I was on the air. I wasn't really focused on the video. I just remember seeing Guillermo and us talking about Guillermo and what a great athlete he is.
Yeah, but you were focused on Mike and Amin and Billy. And
right.
I'm just a forgetting guy here.
well, but
I didn't name everyone's name, did I? I said
Yes,
the
you did.
shipping container.
Hold on.
I did, so I didn't name your name.
hold on.
Okay.
But Roy, what we're noticing,
You okay?
I'm just choked up by the whole thing because I hate that Roy feels betrayed.
Okay.
The thing that seems to be eluding you, and we might be dangerously close to hitting King Roy with a "you don't get the show." The things that we have rejoiced in celebrating about our participation in American Ninja Warrior are my cowardice in not doing it, Mike's cowardice while doing it, Amin
Totally different obstacle course. Totally different.
Amin's total dismantling in a way that will have all of ESPN mocking him today. He provided content. Wait till the network gets a hold of this. Because they didn't have time yesterday. We sprung it on them. Once they get a hold, it's going to be on every show today. Amin failing spectacularly. and then Charlie falling and hitting his nuts with a sound. This sound made me laugh every time I heard it. And it's a boom boom of sounds. It's the sound of here's his junk hitting something that is not meant to be hit with your junk. And then the groaning of the crowd following it. The obvious groaning of the crowd because that sound alerted them. All we did was make fun of ourselves. Roy wants to celebrate his achievement. Go bleep yourself, King Roy.
No. That's all well and good. I'm angry at Stugotz for spreading false narratives here about me, about Billy going further in the course.
You don't get the show.
Thanks, Mike.
I understand. Like, if I'm going to point out achievements, which I wasn't getting the show. I wasn't mocking anyone for doing anything bad. I was pointing out how good Billy was. And you're right, Roy, you did better. I apologize. Kind of.
I mean, we're all drowned out by what is the Amin El Hassan sensation. It became a Twitter moment. He became a meme. El Hassan.
A meme, yes. It's just, I mean, Mina did an Etch-a-Sketch about him in midair, nowhere close to the rope. She was moved to make art by his incompetence. Roy wants
touch the rope.
No, he didn't get. It was, from my vantage point, I'm telling you, it looked like a cartoon that defied gravity because everything suggested he should have been moving toward a rope the way Tarzan Billy was, but instead in midair, he just stopped as if he'd run into an invisible wall. And then I'm telling you though, that somehow wasn't the funniest thing because if anybody knew who the hell Old Money Charlie was, if this had happened to Amin, what do you think it would have? This is all about how famous you are because listen to the sound. This is Charlie's junk hitting something. He is sprinting atop something and then just lands on his junk on what looks like an airplane door.
Did look like an airplane door.
How are we able to keep the Amin thing secret for 2 months? Like, we had that. How did we not mention it? We blurt everything out.
Yes,
we can't say anything around you in particular. If we say anything, you blab it. How did we keep that a secret for so long?
I mean, because we couldn't air the video.
NDAs.
Yeah.
All that paperwork we signed.
The threat of a multi-million-dollar lawsuit.
All those liability forms we had to sign in order to climb the first stair.
With all that said, I'm still shocked. I mean, seriously. We're capable of blowing right through those things.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
By the way, I saw the episode yesterday. We're really bad. Like, everyone did it with such ease. Like, no offense, Roy, but the 3 obstacles is nothing to brag about. Like, everyone was doing that like if it was nothing. They had a guy from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas who trained for like 2 weeks who almost beat the entire course. Who they came on and they trained him a little bit and he almost beat the whole thing. Like, we did terrible.
That's right. And Roy wants to celebrate the achievement. That's correct. That is correct.
Better to be bad, Roy.
But Roy seems to be completely unfamiliar with how we do the show. Like, when in 14 years have we celebrated the achievement of anything? We don't achieve. We march together and fall in the water and hit our nuts like that. Roy wants to celebrate getting to the laughable third thing. He wants us to celebrate his great heroic athleticism, being the king of the deformed.
I just want to celebrate being the best athlete on the show. That's all.
Congratulations, Roy. Look at who you're competing against. The guy who thinks he's the second best athlete on the show, and he was exhorting the crowd for noise before he did this. That's the sound of the guy who thinks he's the second best around here in terms of athleticism.
Have you heard the time between when he hits and then when the splash happens?
Yes.
It's like he froze in midair and just fell to the side.
I need to explain this to people who have not seen it. I want you to imagine an airplane door that is 4 times, 5 times larger than an airplane door. And what you have to do is run across one of the edges of it that is very thin, that is parkourish in spirit, where you're running across something that's going to move as soon as you start putting your feet on it. There are 3 of them, and he gets past the first 2, but when the way that you lose isn't falling off of it. The way you lose is that the door starts swinging from your weight. So what is funniest about this is that Charlie hits the door, sticks, stops, so all of us can groan at like, oh, he fell right on his junk. And then the slow weight of his failure starts to tip him over until you hear him splash in the water 7 seconds later.
Splash.
You can't play that enough today.
Splash.
Anyone else play a college sport? Just wondering on this show. Anyone? Waiting.
All in all, I'm proud of everybody. You guys did such a great job on that beginner's course that you guys ran. That was amazing.
Hold on a second, though. Look at Billy. Just realizing way too late, falling into the water 7 seconds later, that he played a college
I
sport.
forgot. Division I athlete over here. How about that?
Oh, man, he's got me. D3.
Billy, how good were you at pole vaulting?
Oh, that was the sport? Yeah. That doesn't count. I'm back.
It was, I wasn't great. I mean,
Put it on the poll. Who's a better athlete, pole vaulter or lacrosse guy?
Oh, I mean, come on. No question in there. What I did was dangerous. You just ran around. You had a helmet on.
I
Protection.
did. Yeah. It's dangerous, though.
And
it's
a stick, a weapon. Please, choke
going
sport.
against guys who had, 6-foot sticks. Like, they had bigger sticks than I did.
They still do.
Yep. Walk right into that one.
Man, did you?
Oh, man.
Good God.
I was actually processing.
I didn't think I had enough space. I didn't think I had enough space to make an insurance.
We were all racing to the microphone.
We were all going there, yes.
Honestly, I was processing how to position that particular sentence, and there was no other way to do it. And
Dan boxed me out like Barkley.
You were ready. I saw you. What were you coming in with? Let's try it again. Let's see if yours would have been better.
I was going against guys with bigger sticks than mine.
You should be used to that.
That is better.
Got any others?
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's the way that I should have done that.
So does Roy feel better? Should we just have like 30 seconds of clapping for Roy?
No, but I think this is the way that he needs to understand and learn the show that he's been doing for 14 years, that the only way we're going to celebrate his achievement is by burying him. Like, that's the only way that we can celebrate any achievement around here.
No, I got that. You certainly did that today.
And look at how much better your mood is, though. I came in, good morning, it was grumble. Now look at the big smile on your face, as everyone knows that you got to the third obstacle on some infant's course.
Oh, yeah. I'm
American Ninja infant course.
Very enthused. Thank you.
Good job, Roy.
Thank you. I'm going to clap for myself.
King Roy, here. Here to King Roy. All hail King Roy.
Better than everybody. There you go.
Love to see you tackle the floating steps.
Oh, I can do that too. Yeah.
This is your bedroom. This is your bedroom with Blue Chew. Blue Chew uses the same active ingredients as in Viagra or Cialis, but now comes in chewable form. Chewable means better, cheaper, and works faster than pills. No in-person doctor visit, no waiting in line, no more awkwardness. 100% online at BlueChew.com, where your first order is free. Just pay $5 shipping. Use promo code DAN at BlueChew.com and restart the party.
Dan Le Batard.
561, eat it!
Stugotz.
Eat it, 561.
This is the Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
You guys remember Kevin Brown?
How can I forget? No hitter.
Brownie.
World champion.
Yep.
You see what he did? He's in the news.
I did not.
So he lives in Macon, Georgia, and there were mail thieves in his neighborhood. And Kevin Brown does not stand for mail thievery. And he decided it'd be a good idea to hide out in his neighbor's yard and see if he could catch the mail thieves in action. And he did catch them in action, and then chased them down the street and held them at gunpoint. And one of them was a 15-year-old, and they were arrested. But he put an end to that mail thievery. So don't steal mail if you live in Kevin Brown's neighborhood.
At gunpoint?
Yeah. He chased him down with a gun.
Whoa.
Kevin Brown being a vigilante is like the least surprising thing. If you grew up watching Kevin Brown, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I remember that you couldn't even talk to him on game days. Like, I remember reading stuff about him that he would just, like, you could not speak to him. What's not surprising about, like, who steals mail? Like, what are you getting out of stealing someone's mail? Like, what's the big find that you can get?
I want some experienced mail thieves to let me know exactly what there is, because I hate opening my mailbox because it's never good. It's mostly junk mail. Why would they want my Comcast bill?
Yeah, I want someone to steal my bills.
Randy Johnson looks the way Kevin Brown acted, right? Kevin Brown was notoriously a bad teammate. Nobody liked Kevin Brown at all.
He was definitely a mean guy, for sure.
That was a great trade, though. Didn't we get Kotze back in that deal? Important trade with the San Diego Padres.
Speaking of Kevin Brown, you see the Marlins, how good they're doing? Oh, my God. 3 straight against the Giants. I'm just using this as an excuse to talk about the Marlins. Bryn Diesel, 1 for 4 yesterday. Dr. K was Dr. Hits yesterday. 2 hits for Dr. K. He didn't get the win, but we could sweep the Giants today.
Was that a home series?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's that huge home field advantage.
We got a nooner today.
You can, really?
Yeah,
getaway day.
Yeah, getaway day.
Getaway days. I was, speaking of home field advantage, I was listening to this, Freakonomics podcast, and it's a podcast really made for economics majors, but they did a World Cup preview. No. I'm not listening to the Freakonomics podcast. I know how that made me sound. I'm not a regular listener. I'm only listening because I'm so excited for the World Cup that I'm literally consuming any podcasts that I can see. If anyone sends me podcasts, I'll give it a click in terms of World Cup previews. Now that we're in it, it's harder to keep up with. But they actually did a really interesting World Cup preview, and they broke it down in a lot of factors, a lot of storylines. They talked a little bit about Messi. But the most interesting part about this whole Freakonomics World Cup preview podcast was they had the dude that wrote the book Scorecasting, a book that Dan cites all the time, and they were breaking down home field advantage and why it means so much in soccer, and they were comparing it to other sports. And you got me thinking when you mentioned baseball, because baseball, it does have a home field advantage, but it's very minimal. It's tangible enough to make a difference, but it's really close to 50-50. If you round to the closest number, it's a coin flip. And I wondered why that was. Because the examples that they gave as to why soccer home field advantage means so much. And Lord knows we've talked about, Dan's talked about, we had Tom Haberstroh on talking about the taxing travel in the NBA. And that makes sense with back-to-backs and whatnot, and not sleeping in your own bed. But that's not actually the factor. The factor when it comes to soccer officiating is the fans, and not the fans affecting your play as a player. Like, oh, they're really behind me. Yes. Or, man, they're booing me. This is really tough and hostile. It's the fans and how they affect the official. And I thought, well, baseball has every play is decided by an official. Ball strikes. But their example was because baseball, it's not really close plays like there is in soccer. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, you'll have the occasional play at the plate where it's up in the air.
I'm so sick of soccer fans, by the way. Oh, soccer calls are so much harder than every other sport. Soccer's such a great sport. I'm so sick of these elite soccer fans. Enough with this stupid soccer already. Jesus.
I'm never going to win you over with the soccer. I'm not going to try.
The plays are so difficult in soccer. They have the most difficult calls in all of sports. Soccer calls.
I mean, you can agree baseball calls are probably the easiest, though. I mean,
no, bang plays. Like, have you ever heard of a bang play in soccer?
Did the ball get to the glove first, or did the foot get on the bag first? Like,
nope, bang. Sometimes you can't even see it. You have to depend on your other senses, your hearing senses, on bang plays at first base.
Billy,
bang, foot, glove, bang.
Billy, I'm sure you watching it still don't understand what the offsides rule is in soccer. That, to me, seems like the most difficult call in all of sports. Calling offsides. The linesman who's in charge of calling offsides, especially in a high-pressure situation like, I don't know, the World Cup. I get where you're coming from, because Lord knows I'm taking every opportunity
now. The World Cup is such a joke. You can win like 40 games. You win a game, you tie a game, you lose a game. Someone needs to win or tie or lose. And then you just keep advancing. No one knows the rules of soccer. Enough of this.
It's crazy how impressive those offsides judges are.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's so many times where it's like, that was not offsides. They show the replay and he's like a finger offsides.
That's another thing. Offsides shouldn't exist. Don't get me started on offsides. In hockey and soccer, all the sports, offsides shouldn't exist.
Well, hockey, I'm with you. Hockey offsides, I think they should do away with because the rink is so small. But in soccer, there's a clear advantage, and it's worse if you have a guy just cherry picking.
Oh, you have a goalie. His job's to stop the ball from going in. Stop the ball, goalie.
Cherry picking soccer is not a brand of soccer you want to watch.
I would like to see.
That's exactly right. There's no brand of soccer I want to watch.
I would like to see what that looks like, though. I've never. Like, I could just imagine.
I mean, go to a 7-on-7 field, and there's no offsides on pickup soccer. Here I go again.
What's the score of those games?
Those games are much higher scoring.
That sounds awesome. I want to see, you know what? I want to see that. I want to see cherry picking soccer. How can we do that?
Just watch indoor soccer, I guess.
I have to go somewhere to do that.
You know what, Bill? I used to be just like you. I'm trying to be more accepting of other sports because Lord knows for the last 2 seasons, I have taken every opportunity to just crap on baseball. Why does a home field advantage not matter in baseball? Because the fans are asleep. It's so boring. The fans are either asleep or posing as chairs. So I get where you're coming from, but I am trying to be a little bit more accepting because you get really excited about the Marlins, and I don't want you to have someone here just taking all the air out of your excitement just because they don't like it. I'm trying to give them a chance in terms of just following it and giving my support. I'd appreciate a little bit back other than doing this obvious thing that Stugotz always does when it comes to soccer.
No. No. And we were talking before about this. Why don't you watch my sport and I'll watch your sport? And then we
The
can talk
cultural
about
sports exchange. I want to do this with Stugotz.
I'm not interested in that whatsoever. I could care less if you like the Marlins or soccer or baseball.
How
or anything.
old is this note that Stugotz is hitting? Like, he's going to his greatest hit collections of... Did you guys hear what happened?
I'm so tired of the Stugotz soccer take. It hasn't evolved.
It's right
this
on, though.
dude is a caveman.
Mike.
And it makes absolutely no sense. And it's so insulting. And it just pushes this idiotic narrative that all these mouth breathers like Stugotz love to recite when they don't even want to give it the slightest chance. And I was hoping I could do this cultural sports exchange because the U.S. Open's going on. And golf, like soccer in the United States, even though the metrics kind of support soccer, is a fringe sport, at least in the mainstream media. So I wanted to trade, okay, I'll follow the U.S. Open. I'll watch as much as I possibly can, understanding that a lot of the U.S. Open lines up directly against the World Cup. But I'll watch the final round. I'll try to get into this as long as you promise me you'll change your stale soccer take and act at least a little invested in this.
The idea that he would go on Golic and Wingo and say he's been waiting for this since 1972 and he's not someone who was born 72 or before. Mike, did you guys hear? He actually did this. So many people pointed it out. Stugotz said, I've been waiting for soccer to take off since 1972, and then shortly thereafter said he was 44. The math didn't add up.
He is so boring and stale when it comes to soccer, but he is gasbagged to the T. And he says stuff that'll circulate and become talking points because we work in this content machine at ESPN. And it's just such a misrepresentation because the guy's a cartoon character and people take him serious.
Look what he's created, Billy.
I know.
But you guys are... Dan, they're saying that cherry-picking soccer would be boring if the scores are like 10-8. That would be fun soccer to me. I want to see more action. I don't just kick it to this person, kick it to that. Nope, that person was too far past the other person. You can't kick it to that person yet. Kick it back to the other person. No, let's draw this line on the thing with the invisible angle. No, kick here, free kick.
For people that actually watch soccer, it's not boring right now.
Oh, I've watched soccer.
No, people.
I played soccer.
No, it's not people who watch soccer, Chris. It's people who like soccer. Go ahead and try. You guys should try today. Let's see make all the cliche arguments against golf and see how he reacts. Yeah. See how Stugotz reacts when you make it's too slow, they're not athletes. Watch how he gets defensive because he likes that sport. He likes to play that sport, and so he's going to defend that sport. But that's the world's sport, man. The world likes that sport.
The world's wrong. Here's the thing. You guys are talking about, all these great arguments about baseball is so boring. Watch soccer instead of baseball. Oh, let's trade sports so I can watch your sport. And I don't want you to watch my sport.
Who is this talking
Stay
about?
away from my sport. Stay away from my
Mike
sport.
With his cultural exchange.
I don't want your cultural exchange because it causes two things. It causes, one, I need to watch something I don't want to watch, which is going to take me hours to do.
No, it's not going to take you hours.
I need to get your opinions on the
It's going to take you 90 minutes. That's the best part about soccer.
No, that's an hour and a half.
It's not like baseball where I'm like, hey, try this 4.5 hour experience.
I'm not asking you to watch it. I don't care if you watch it or not. I don't want you to watch it. I don't want to talk to you about the Marlins.
But don't you want to celebrate things with people?
No, I don't. And by the way, as a matter of fact, I like the empty Marlins Stadium. I can go and I can stretch my feet out.
He's
and
right
I can
about
take
that.
up 2 or 3 rows. I can
great.
have a whole section to myself. Nothing would make me happier if that park was empty forever.
No bathroom lines.
I know. I don't have to. Well, sometimes there's food lines because they still haven't figured that out. Even with like 500 people in the stadium, there's always a line for food, and I don't understand that.
Because they only want to open like 2 stands because they don't want to bring all the workers in.
They don't want to pay all the workers. That's right.
Yeah. But I don't want people there. I like the empty stadium. I think I'm alone on this, and you guys are talking about, I want this environment, I want this, I want this huge crowd of support. You just said that home field advantage doesn't matter. So why would I want crowds of people when they're not doing anything?
I said it doesn't matter in baseball.
They're just taking up space. I don't want the people there. I want to go to the stadium.
You go to sporting events for the ambiance. You go to share with your fellow fan.
No.
Look, we're members of the media, right? When I was growing up, I thought credentials would be the greatest thing ever. Oh, you get to go to any game you want now. You get to go for free. It's not what it's cracked up to be. It's such a bummer. That's why I actually buy season tickets to Miami Heat. That's why I'm now a Miami Hurricane season ticket holder. It's such a ruse. They get you in with, hey, come and work in sports. You get to go to the games for free. It is the lamest experience. You cannot cheer unless you're Poppy, who breaks all the journalism rules. You can't cheer. You can't celebrate. You're there working. In fact, what you're working on is just being still and stoic and pretending like you don't enjoy things. And I can't possibly do that. that because I love the experience of being a fan.
If someone gives you sideline passes to a football game, say no, I don't want them, because it's a terrible view. You can't see anything. You can't see past the guy holding the chain marker. It's like, I'd rather be in the stands.
Wait. Do it once, though. Do it once so you realize how fast and big and how much that sport hurts, so you can watch it from the safety of the club level and get the hell away from whatever is going on the field, because that bleep is dangerous.
I did it at an FAU game. They weren't that big.
No, FAU is not big. I did it at
like a high school team.
I did it at a Shula Bowl, and I was bigger than everybody on FIU's sideline.
Oh, please, that's not true.
I was bigger than
Pause up.
everybody.
Chris is right. I went to that FAU game, and it was startling. I'm telling you, it changed my perspective on what I'm watching when I watched how small the FAU guys look like compared to the Alabama guys. It's like watching Pee Wee football.
Yeah, I've been on a pro sideline for a brief moment at a Dolphins game, and this was just preseason football. And the fear that was in my body by just being about 20 feet away from action compared to what I experienced at the Shula Bowl is pretty laughable.
One time I had a credential when I was an intern at CBS 4, and I was sidelined a Monday Night Football game, Dolphins-Jets, and I had the same fear on the sideline, but it was for a different reason. It was because it was like my first or second time doing this, and I didn't know where I was supposed to be, and I got separated from Louis Zabala, who's the camera guy I was with at the time, and I was like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I'm looking at my pass. It says I can't be in the press box. So I was just trying to hide and fit in so I wouldn't get kicked out of the stadium. I did nothing that day. They were so mad at me because I was not helpful whatsoever to them. I failed at my intern duties that day. I was just hiding on the sidelines hoping no one would notice me or think that I had to be there so they wouldn't kick me out of the stadium.
That sounds like a general metaphor for the entirety of your career.
Washing my nose, oh yeah.
I'm a shower curtain, and I do one thing. Keep water from leaking everywhere. So you see why I feel useless compared to Geico, who does so much more. Like, not only could Geico save you money, but they've been around for over 75 years. And they give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or on the Geico app. And they've got a 97% customer satisfaction rating. They do all this while I have to listen to this chucklehead. Oh, good, he stopped.
Washing my toes.
Oh, great, an encore.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Dan Batard.
How'd you feel about that? Pretty good?
Yeah, if you say so.
Stugotz.
What are you shaking your head about? Because I want to get out of here.
This is the Dan Batard Show with the Stugotz on the ticket.
So Mike Ryan is a Cleveland Browns fan because a long time ago his abuelita took him to a dollar store. Those were the plates that were available. That's how it happened sometimes with me. A family friend was the third cousin of shortstop for the New York Yankees, Bucky Dent. That was close enough. I'm like, okay, I like that. I was 40 years old. So Mike is a Browns fan, and now Jarvis Landry is a Brown, and I feel like what's happening here is Dolphin fans who don't particularly like Tannehill are still coming at Jarvis Landry. What have you ever done? Who are you? Just in defense of their uniform, they would say the same things about Jarvis Landry or about Ryan Tannehill, but they're just protecting their squad. And so now the best defense that Tannehill gets, the only defense that Tannehill gets, is when a player leaves and says something about him that's disparaging.
For the audience, though, because the audience might not know exactly what you're talking about, Jarvis Landry said that the group of quarterbacks that he's working with right now in Cleveland, that's a team of Tyrod Taylor, Baker Mayfield, and Drew Stanton, is the best group of quarterbacks he's ever worked with, to which Dolphin fans took major exception to, which is a little confusing to me, considering all the things that Dan just mentioned about the conflicts of interest there. And Jarvis hasn't really backed down. It's become really a local story, which is cool for me as a Browns fan. He doubled down on it. He spoke with NFL Network yesterday, and he's like, well, I just work out with Tyrod. He throws a ball to me during the offseason. That's something that never happened with Ryan Tannehill. I didn't have that relationship. Siciliano asked him, well, have you heard from Ryan Tannehill since your comments? He's like, no, I just don't have that relationship with Ryan Tannehill. Not many people do.
The part, though, that is a bit surprising to me, and I know Jarvis Landry's hurt because he thinks he's excellent, and he probably thinks somewhere inside himself that he is Odell Beckham, his friend. Like, he doesn't – you think Jarvis Landry thinks to himself, Odell Beckham is that much greater than me? Probably thinks to himself, he's got Eli Manning, and he plays in New York. That's the way that he sort of rationalizes that his childhood friend isn't actually better than he is.
You're saying an athlete at the professional level, he thinks he's as good as the best wide
Jarvis
receiver in
Landry
football?
believes that the only reason he has been catching 8-yard passes for 4 seasons with the Dolphins is because the Dolphins haven't helped Jarvis Landry be better than that. And so now he goes here, he's hopeful, and he feels a little bit embarrassed that the Dolphins didn't actually value him the way that he values him. Because he's thinking to himself, I was the only thing on your damn offense. The other guy on your damn offense, you traded him to Philadelphia. I was the only thing out there for you. I'm playing by myself. I'm breaking my face, and I'm scoring all of our touchdowns.
I'm a Pro Bowl Dolphins receiver. Do you know how hard that is?
That's right. And so he gets there. And the part, though, that eludes me a little bit is, man, Jarvis, that quarterback threw to you an awful lot for you to rip him on your. He threw to you an awful lot for you to think that you were even more open than that more often. He was always looking for you.
Right. I mean, 131 targets, 165, 111. Last year it was 160, but that's Jay Cutler.
No, but watch what happens. He might like those quarterbacks a lot, but wait till he starts. If Josh Gordon stays there, Jarvis Landry's going to get a little bit jealous of, oh, wait a minute. The way I've been playing football for the last 5 years is not the way everyone gets to play football.
Although that could open up things for Jarvis Landry.
It will.
Having a guy like Gordon.
It will open up things for Jarvis Landry. And now you finally get to see what Dan's been talking about, which is Jarvis Landry being used the way that he should absolutely be used. And he'll probably end up looking better. Now, I don't think he'll look like what he is right now, which is the 3rd highest paid wide receiver in the league. But when you're paying Josh Gordon, at least for this season, less than $1 million, you can afford to make that sort of sacrifice, I guess.
Jarvis is not really he's not criticizing Tannehill. He's just saying we weren't that close of friends. And what's he supposed to say? Tyrod Taylor's not as good as Ryan Tannehill?
It is, but this is the thing that sports fans latch onto, and
he just doesn't have to say it.
Well,
sports
it's
media,
the way he's saying it too.
Yeah, but it is, all things considered, it's fairly benign. That's not the relationship I had. He didn't call me. This is the best group of quarterbacks I've ever played with. That's an assortment of things said in public that together are not much of a slight. But Dolphin fans, all of a sudden, for the first time ever, are protecting their quarterback against the slander of that traitor, Jarvis Landry.
Who was straight dead.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, listen, that's what fans do. They protect the guy that's still there. But you're right. If the Dolphins got rid of Tannehill, they'd be crushing him. Dolphin fans, what have you ever done? Ryan, you get hurt. What have you ever done? But that's what fans do. I don't blame them. I mean, that's how we roll.
I know how it'll come off. I know how it'll come off because now I'm a Browns fan and Jarvis Landry is my guy. But you know what? Jarvis Landry has always been my guy. I've always been pushing back on Dan. I think Jarvis Landry is an excellent football player. You know who else thinks Jarvis Landry is an excellent football player? His peers. Not only at that position, but DBs. They'll speak glowingly about him. So I'm led to believe there's more to it, this guy, than just, 3 yards.
I am with you on he is a very meticulous route runner. I am with you on he will be good in Cleveland if they could use him as what he is, which is a possession receiver and only that, as opposed to a number 1 receiver and a possession receiver, which is how the Dolphins were always using him.
Well, possession, if I could stop you there, isn't exactly fair to Jarvis because, yes, he has good hands and he can do the 3-yard thing if there's nothing in front of him, but he's incredible with the ball in his hands. If you give him space, he's a yak guy.
So you don't think he's Wes Welker?
No, I think he's certainly more talented with the ball in his hands, especially with space. That's why he's a punt returner, even though Wes was too.
I don't think that Wes Welker is appreciably worse than Jarvis Landry. I think Jarvis Landry is not a number 1 receiver, not by my definition of what a number 1 receiver is. And with all those broken tackles, he's still averaging 7 yards a catch, no matter how, because so often they're throwing the ball to him in these bubble screens and these 3-yard checkdowns and him just running diagonally across the field.
He'd break 3 tackles to get 8 yards.
This season's going to be a fascinating case study because we'll see what Jarvis can do without Ryan Tannehill, and we'll see what Jarvis can do against lining up opposite of what Dan believes to be a true number 1 in this league. And we'll also see what Ryan can do without Jarvis. And I don't know if you're reading what's coming out of camp, but Amendola is going 80 yards on the reg with Ryan Tannehill going deep. That's not how I assume they'd use Danny Amendola. So does Danny Amendola give you the production that Jarvis Landry used to?
Why don't the Dolphins sign Dez Bryant? They just lost Landry. Dez is willing to take a 1-year contract, so you get him on a contract year essentially. Be good.
I think the league thinks he's done. I think the league thinks his feet have caused so that he can't get open, that he can't create separation.
Mike is right on Jarvis, though. He was 7th in the NFL in yak last year.
No, he is good with the football. There's no disputing that.
I just don't get it. I'm trying to figure it out.
But that's why they had him return kicks, and they used him the way that he did. But did you see these Kyle Shanahan quotes? Did you see the quotes when he was asked? His answer was sophisticated, it was nuanced, and it took a minute. He was being asked about the idea of the read option, and has it been figured out? Because Shanahan has been very good, Stugotz, everywhere he's been in terms of squeezing offense out of people. And the way that he explained the read option on figuring it out, he's like, no, any defense, if it commits to stopping your quarterback on the read option, will stop your quarterback and maybe injure your quarterback. But they're only willing to do that at the expense of everything else. And if your quarterback's good enough, he's going to throw it over the top. He's going to beat you by not running. And he's like, that's how we made Alfred Morris the third best rusher in the league. Right. Alfred Morris left there. We thought he was good. Alfred Morris wasn't good. Alfred Morris came locally, was a nice story. The scheme, the system, the players all created what Alfred Morris became in the league. And the part that I don't know about as we discuss it, as it relates to Jarvis Landry, is I don't know if the Dolphins made him better than he is or worse. Like, I don't know if Jarvis Landry is now going to go to Cleveland and blossom.
Right.
But I've always thought that, no, they are maxing out Jarvis Landry because it's all they got. This is the best Jarvis Landry there is.
Well, the Browns just maxed out Jarvis Landry, and they're paying the production for the production that Miami got, and hopefully he can be even better opposite of Josh Gordon. But you mentioned the RPOs. This is my favorite stat from the NFL, courtesy of Steve Palazzolo over at Pro Football Focus. Now, the Shanahan zone running scheme has been making all pros out of pedestrian running backs since the 90s. You combine what Alfred Morris was doing in that zone blocking scheme with the RPOs with the run pass options that Robert Griffin III was doing. This is just last year where Kyle Shanahan's having to answer questions about is the league on to the RPO. 78% completion percentage out of run pass options. 78. That's not even accounting for drops. 78% completion percentage. That's cheating.
Yes. And what is great, think about, this is actually a fun thing to follow this year with these two nowhere franchises, which is this, Stugotz. This is the crazy part. Because you just heard me compare him to Wes Welker, and there's a reason I'm doing that. Wes Welker was a Dolphin, and he was nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. One touchdown in his career as a Dolphin. Now you can make the argument he's a Hall of Famer. He went to New England. You can make the argument that the Patriots took Wes Welker and made him something. But here's the real test. It's the bleeping Browns. Like, this
he went to Brady.
This is
Landry's going to Giants.
You go to Brady.
The Browns had Belichick. Okay.
I know. This is what's great about it. They had Saban. The Browns had Belichick and Saban on the same staff.
Kirk Ferentz. Every single person that's been rumored as one of the greatest coaches, they were a part of the 94 Browns.
It's so great from so many different angles. I used to think that the Miami Hurricanes coaching staff of Jimmy Johnson was the greatest coaching staff ever assembled because Butch Davis graduated to the pros. Dave Wanstead graduated to the pros. Dave Campo graduated to the pros. Gary Stevens graduated toward the pros. And it's not that they were great at coaching, though they were probably fine. It's that Miami made all of them. Cleveland tried to undermine the legacies of Saban and Belichick before they even started. Tried as hard as they could. And so that's where Jarvis Landry is going. It's such a fascinating test because the Patriots can take your Welker and turn him into that. What are the Browns going to do with a drug addict as their number one? Right? Yeah. All the quarterbacks they have.
Recovering.
Okay. Well, isn't that the same thing? No, it's not the same thing.
I don't think it is.
You're always in recovery.
Right.
Wait a minute. So it is the same thing.
One day at a time, man.
Wait a minute. What just happened there? Mike uselessly said something redundant. Stugotz came in with a cliched stage of grief.
I don't know, man. 2018 is a tough year.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out all the rules.
Yeah. Are we saying this Browns coaching staff is the best coaching staff of all time?
I'm not saying this Browns.
Something.
I'm saying,
that Browns.
That one. Yes, this one is not. This one has won one game in 2 years.
Which honestly needs its own NFL film
That's right.
special.
We could do a 30 for 30 on the last 2 years of Cleveland Browns football, where you get annihilated, you lose every day, and then Joe Thomas quits on you. He's your only Hall of Famer, and as soon as he retires, he loses 70 pounds.
And the coach jumps in Lake Erie.
Revealing his butt. Which is not different than what he did every
Also redundant. Also redundant. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Is Hugh Jackson jumping into a lake revealing his butt a metaphor for his entire Browns tenure?
The 95 Browns had a true football story on NFL Network, done by NFL Films. And it's not just the coaching staff, which was an embarrassment of riches, but they had Pioli, they had Dimitrioff, they had some of the greatest football personnel guys you could ever imagine, and they were all sleeping on floors. It's an amazing collection of talent, and even that collection of talent was nothing compared to what that Factory of Sadness does every Sunday and just drags people down.
We're getting hammered from every angle. Too much sports talk. This is annoying. What the F? No more sports talk. You guys don't realize how much we've changed you. You really don't realize it.
Give you one segment of sports.
And we decide, not you. We're always going to make the decisions on what gets talked about that segment. Never you.
Guys, it's June. Okay.
I know, right? You come do a sports show here.
We'll talk about LeBron to the Heat and your Snapchat filters incorrectly putting Kawhi Leonard in a Miami-Dade DMV. We can talk about that a couple of times. Yeah, that's another thing that happened.
What was that, by the way?
Earl Boykin says LeBron's going to Denver.
Earl Boykins is weighed in?
Oh, wow, I gotta write that down. Why would he be in a DMV shirtless?
Why is anyone talking to Earl Boykin?
Well, the thing is, he was actually in a DMV shirtless, though, but in 2016, and not in Miami.
But why? Yes, why? That is a great question. It wasn't in Miami ever? Has he ever been in Miami?
Has the Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard ever been in Miami?
Has he ever spent time? Have we ever spotted him at any point in his career in Miami doing something fun?
Well, that's the thing about these Kawhi Leonard pictures. I had no idea he ever went outside. And now all of a sudden everybody has these pictures of him outside and in Aventura and shirtless at a DMV, which just led to more questions. I didn't know that Kawhi Leonard led this life.
You see what he looks like without a shirt? That's why he's at the DMV without a shirt.
It must look good.
Earl Boykin's one of the most underrated athletes of all time, right? Yeah. He was 5'5" in the NBA. This guy doesn't get enough credit. There should be actually a spot in the Hall of Fame for 6 feet and under, right? There should be people in the Hall of Fame that are under a certain height.
That's a good idea. Well, Guillermo, should there be an NBA Hall of Fame for people 6 feet and under?
Well, if you go first ballot Hall of Fame, not to make this about World Cup soccer again, but Leo Messi, and I think I have a Stugotz personal record book entry, because whenever you say steroids, the face of steroids in sports is either U.S. Olympic track team, Russian Olympic athletes, or Barry Bonds. And I know why Leo Messi did human growth hormone, but Leo Messi was supposed to be 5'1", okay? If he stayed 5'1" and not 5'7", he's not arguably the greatest soccer player of all time. In Stugotz's personal record book, Leo Messi should be stripped of all of his achievements.
When did he do HGH?
When he was a child.
Oh, that's allowed. That's allowed.
When he was a teenager.
Funny. That's a funny thing to allow, though. It's funny, but it's a funny thing to allow. Here, you could use it as a human growth hormone that helps heal you and turns you into the best soccer player in the world. Or you could use it the way D. Gordon did. Either way, you could do it at 13, but not at 20.
But I think a lot of kids are doing that, to Billy's point. I think there might be a loophole there where it is deemed as okay by many.
No, it's not a loophole. It's helping them with their physical growth because they need help with their physical growth.
Right, but this wasn't a quality of life thing. He would have lived a healthy life at 5'1". This was just to get him into Barcelona's academy, and Barcelona even paid for the treatment, so he grew 6
Not allowed
inches.
again. Not allowed again. That changes everything.
Yep.
It does.
Yep.
Did his parents make this decision, or was it his decision?
In my personal record book, he never played soccer. How about that? And he's still 5'1". You got Messi.
What you got Messi? In your personal record book, Messi, you have declared it, is still 5-1.